Hi there, I'm Joanne Ellison, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about making space for God. And this time about making space for God for you young mothers in the midst of the crazy lives that you live that are so busy with children and work, and some of you are stay-at-home moms. Whatever stage you're in, I'm sitting here I'm a grandmother, and I'm sitting in the playroom that I have for my grandchildren, but it's also, I don't know if you can see it too well, but these are the toys that my children had that I never got rid of. I have a little corner cupboard here and a little tiny doll bed here with a little baby, and actually behind me is a baby doll that belonged to one of my daughters in a little high chair. And this room is always filled with noise and mess. I love it that way. But you see, as a grandmother, I don't have the responsibility. I can let the kids, come and have a wonderful time and run rampant through here, and then they go back to their moms. But I want you to know that I remember what it was like to be a young mom, to be a mom with young kids, to have all the struggles that you women deal with. And then someone like me says, make space for God. And you're like, all right already, I don't have time to breathe. I remember how stressed I was trying to figure it out until one day I came across this passage in Matthew. And it's Jesus' words. And he says, stop being, and I'm reading from the Amplified, stop being perpetually uneasy, anxious, and worried about your life. He goes on to say, look at the birds of the air. They don't sow or reap. Are you not worth more than birds? He's talking about being anxious, you precious mothers. I know how anxiety-ridden it can be to have children, and especially at this age where they're so small and they're running around. But Jesus was real clear in this passage. He says in here, I take care of the birds of the field. I know every hair on your head. I know the anxieties you have and the stresses of being a mom. But he goes on, and really, I don't want to speak to just young mothers. I remember vividly the teenage years. Talk about stressful. But looking back on it, this passage is what helped me more than any other. Jesus goes on to say, therefore, don't worry. Don't worry and be anxious, thinking about what I'm supposed to do. He goes on to say, here's the deal. Don't worry about what you eat or what you drink or what you wear. And I would add in here, don't worry about your children. Basically, Jesus is saying, don't worry about your life. But here's what you need to do. He's saying, make space for me. And when you do, every worry you have, every concern you have, he will take it on. Listen to what he says. But do this. Seek, aim at, and strive after, first of all, his kingdom and his righteousness, his way of doing and being right. And then all these things will come together and be given to you. So moms out there, I just want to talk heart to heart with you today. I understand. It is stressful being a mom. But I want you to know, if you make space for God, just a few minutes a day, read your word, pray, and then spend the rest of the day talking to him, thinking about him. You know, Jesus did that. He talked to his daddy all day long. He'd look up to heaven and he'd say, Abba, Daddy, can you help me out here? If you'll make space for God in the midst of all the clatter and the confusion with the children and the toys everywhere. And, I love this is one of my favorite ones, and it makes a lot of noise, little cows and moose. Amidst all this craziness, take time out. I promise you, if you seek him and make space for him, you will be a better mom and a more peaceful mom.